Welcome to the Man Show.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 5 of The Man Show. I'm your host tonight, Eric, and I'm joined with Kurth.
What's up, everybody?
Critter couldn't make it tonight, so, Kurth, how's your week been?
Oh, week's been pretty crazy. I took a couple days off of work, so that was lovely. Can't tell you and express in words how excited I am to go back tomorrow.
Oh,
But
I think you could, but let's just spare everyone the details. Everyone knows how great Mondays are.
Oh yeah, looking forward to it for sure. Sarcasm. Yeah, man. God, what a week this has been. So first things first, as some of you guys know, I sold my car. I no longer have a fun car, which I have mixed emotions about. Super excited to kind of be rid of that headache, man. What a wild ride that little project has been. I sent the motor off to a shop to be completely redone. You know, wanted to build it to hold 1,000 horsepower, so I could kind of park it somewhere around 700, 750, and just have it be, you know, completely bulletproof. And you know, so while the motor was getting done, the place that was doing it for me, their shop burned down while the motor was there. So that you know, month-long ordeal turned into an 18-month nightmare. And
wow.
yeah, so that finally got done, and I also decided in the meantime, you know, I was going to upgrade the supercharger, so I bought a 2.7 liter Whipple supercharger for it, and one of the local shops who I've done some computer work for, and you know, have a pretty good relationship with. For some of the things I've helped him out with over the years, he's like, "Oh, listen, you know, I'll get you set up," and he ordered it for me, but at the time was going through a pretty nasty divorce, and his ex-wife, was actually involved in the business, and she cleaned out his bank accounts like literally 24 hours after my check deposited for him to order that supercharger kit for me, and so that was like 18 more months of litigations and everything else, and then finally, you know, after at this point 3 years and change. You know, there was still work to be done. I still had to come up with the money for a fuel system. You know, there's probably several $1,000s worth of work still to do, and you know, no more money at this point. So it just kind of sat, and you know, decided to finally just part ways with it. You know, just don't have the time for it that I used to, and so on and so forth. So I've been trying to sell it for a while. Been kind of holding out for the right buyer. You know, hopefully somebody that'd come along and finish what I started with that project. And lo and behold, someone finally came along after about a year of trying to sell it. So this nightmare has been continuing for quite a while. So I'm gonna miss it. You know, I'm disappointed I never got to finish that project, but I am excited for that chapter to finally be closed in my life. And
Yeah, I feel like I heard about this car like way back when I lived in New Jersey, and you were nothing but a myth to me and stories told by others. And then in this entire time that we've actually been friends, I've never once heard you ever talk about driving it or anything at all. And now, with all that put in perspective, it makes sense as to why it's been sitting there doing nothing.
Absolutely. Sitting there collecting dust, and
Yeah.
you know, it's just like a black hole of a money pit that I finally closed up and sealed that wound. But like I said, you know, mixed emotions. I'm disappointed that I'll never get to see that dream or that project get finalized. But at the same rate, I'm super stoked for that chapter to be over and upward and onward, if you will. But I did decide that I couldn't be without some form of toy, so I went and picked up a Oculus Rift VR headset shortly afterwards. You know, something I've been eyeballing for a while. Built a new computer last year, you know, kind of with that in mind, that at some point, you know, maybe they'd come down in price a bit and it'd be something that I could afford. And lo and behold, with the selling of the car, introduced the opportunity for me to pick up an Oculus Rift. So I had a lot of fun with that. Probably distracted me from some of the work I should have been doing a little bit too much, but nevertheless, it was a good week, and with the time off of work, I actually had the opportunity to play a bunch of games this week, which was nice and relaxing. You know, I got to play some Vermintide, even checked out Battle Right for a game or so with a couple of guys last night. Played a little bit of Diablo, then of course a bunch of stuff on VR. Played some Robo Recall. Um, got in trouble with the wife. She came up with a nice little chore list for me on Saturday, so I had to do a bunch of housework and stuff that honestly has kind of gone too long as it is. So my bad,
Yeah,
babe, if you're listening.
fair.
I'm sorry. I love you. And then beyond that, did get a little bit of work on the website done in between my part-time foray into plumbing for the Karth household, if you will. So still haven't completely wrapped up that project, but I did get some of the parts in that I needed to replace some stuff in the kids' shower. So that's been pretty much my week.
So now, with the car gone and the VR headset, you've got to get Car Mechanic Simulator 2018 and just rebuild the Cobra in Car Mechanic Simulator 2018.
Yeah, well, that sounds like a great idea. I feel like I've played that game already. And it's not as fun as it sounds. Ask anybody who checked out My Summer Car last year.
Oh man, I still really want to play that game. Is it? It might still be in early access.
Yeah, I never did get to check it out, and honestly, with everything going on
It's
with the car situation, I wasn't super interested.
Oh yeah, it's brutal, man. It's absolutely brutal. I watched a few people attempt to play it, and it's a ride, an absolute ride.
I bet. From what I heard, it sounded like it was somewhat factual, but
Yes, yeah.
actually sounded a little bit too true to life for me. So I was kind of like, you know what? Nah, I've played this game too many times.
Yeah, right.
So kind of a bittersweet week, but there was definitely a lot happening, and enjoyed the time off. So that was nice. What about you, man? What'd you get into this past week?
Uh, huh. What have I been doing? Diablo, honestly. That has taken over a large portion of my life. Um, I'll hop on, because the Discord's exploded. There's just all these people playing Diablo all of a sudden, and so it's I'll go hop on to go just spend maybe an hour or so doing some rifts or something, and suddenly someone's like, "Oh, you're playing Diablo," and then now we're rushing them to 70, and we're doing their season journey, and then before I realize 4 hours have gone by, and yeah.
I actually have I have witnessed that unfold quite a bit. It's been
Yeah.
super awesome having so many people to
Yeah.
play with. I jumped in between kind of everything going on and saw that the Diablo M.A.N clan is just abuzz with new members, and that's pretty
Yeah.
freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's a blast. I'm really glad that so many people have jumped on to play.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's funny, right? If you recall a couple episodes ago, I was kind of a little torn about diving back into Diablo, but
yeah,
there for a minute, I think I got a little more addicted than the rest of you guys.
yeah. You're an all-nighter just to get your necro up and running.
Yeah, well, that's one of the bittersweet things about Diablo, right? Is
Mhm.
there was one particular way I was really looking forward to play Necro, right? I was looking to play Necro like what my idea of a Necro is. I wanted the minions and the summons and stuff like that, but I had a really hard time coming up with a complete set for Rathmas, and I got one piece away, and I just I didn't want to stop. I was like, oh man, come on, I gotta get it. I kept doing rifts to get more Death's Breath and things to try to roll one out of the cube, or more blood shards to try to roll it. I basically was just looking for Rathma's helm, so I was trying 5 different ways at once to get it, and then I got it, and I was like, well, now I can't go to bed without trying it. So try it I did, and it was glorious. I enjoyed it very much, and it was definitely what I was looking to get out of the Necro. And I just started mowing things. And so I was like, oh well, let me do a Greater Rift and see how much more powerful I am with this build than the last build. And I was like, man, I really crushed that. Let's try a little harder. And then the next thing I know, I go from GR 30 to 60. you know, in a matter of like an hour. So it was a lot of fun. But yeah, definitely got its hooks in me there for a little bit, a little bit more than I expected.
Yeah. So releasing Diablo, releasing the death grip Diablo has on. I've been doing a lot of studying. My test is actually in a couple days for my Microsoft certification. So it's like Wednesday, I think noon is the test. Probably check on that. But yeah, so I've been trying to pack in some studying here and there, trying to find some more information about like the test itself, because I've taken a few practice exams and it wasn't necessarily what I thought was going to be on the test. So just a few more concepts I have to delve into, like some things on web development as far as like apps are concerned. That's what most of it is. It's a lot of like the C# language and seems like web development. I thought it was going to be more like database, like Link, and possibly some mild SQL. But yeah,
Awesome.
so just yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Well, you'll have to let me know how that turns out. I know, I know we've been talking about it quite a bit, and you've been doing some studying and a bunch of various programming things for us, with M.A.N and all that stuff, which has been it's been a fun learning experience for myself as well, just kind of watching all that unfold and working alongside you to see how all that stuff becomes a reality. So that's been cool, and wish you the best of luck on your test. I hope you ace it. I have no doubt you will. And what else has been going on? I think you dropped some features throughout the week on Botman as well. A couple of updates. What transpired there?
Yeah, just some really small stuff. It's actually it's in the process of kind of a rewrite. The whole I went in and I got done what needed to get done, right? And now I'm looking back at it and I'm like, who the fuck wrote this code? Oh, that was me. Right. So I have to get in there, rewrite some of the LFG systems so that we can expand it into other games. But what's actually added in was the general gaming chats will rename themselves based on the game that you're playing, and it's kind of a majority thing. It's it doesn't quite poll everybody, but if it detects certain people, enough people are playing a certain game, it'll change the name of it, so it'll be updated. It'll pull your stream names if you're streaming or whatever program you're using, any game like that, and so rolling that into the LFG system, basically the new LFG system is going to kind of detect what game you're playing and post up an LFG for you. There's a few other features I wanted to add to the LFG posts themselves, like probably players or members icons, so that it's a little bit easier to track people down. Because I know on mobile it's an issue of seeing someone's at mention, it comes up as a bunch of numbers, like their actual account number or whatever. So I thought putting that in would be cool. Oh, and Botman cleans up wherever you end up posting like a lock command or something. So if you just happen to be like chatting with somebody and you're like, oh yeah, let's grab a quick little twos channel, you can just kind of make it up right then and there, and it'll just clean itself up so it doesn't spam channels or anything like that.
I gotta say, I dig your humble approach there a bit. Just a small update, dude. That's awesome. So you're telling me when I go into the missed gaming category, playing whatever game, Diablo or whatever, when I join any channel, it'll name it after the game I'm playing, and then as people join, and we all play Diablo together, and then decide to change to Rocket League, it actually will change itself over to Rocket League if the majority of the channel does so as well.
Yeah, it's actually only at least one other person needs to be doing it to detect it. So yeah, as soon as everyone kind of starts switching over, it'll convert it.
That's awesome, dude. Great job.
Thanks. That was fun to dig into because the library that I'm using, the JDA library, it's got like all the hook-ins for Discord, and so I've just been kind of feeling my way around it, and that's where I've arrived to now, and I kind of have to do this rewrite of some parts because I just don't like the general structure. I have like one class that's handling all of the text commands, and there's a second class that's handling the LFG system, which is also handling text commands. So I really wanted to condense all of the text commands into one. And actually, even something else I was thinking of is maybe just let LFG commands appear kind of anywhere, and it'll just post them up to the LFG channel where they belong, stuff like that.
Interesting. So, in layman's terms, just some optimization stuff then.
Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
pretty much like I did with the bot cleans up after itself now. That'll be kind of the same thing where, if you happen to be in Rocket League General and you say like, oh, LFG, it'll take that and it'll post it up in the LFG channel that we have up at the top of the Discord now.
Well, that's cool. Well, enough about us, man. What's been happening in the Discord? I know compared to the last few weeks we've had, I feel like it was a bit of a slower week.
Man Mixer was last week.
Yeah, that's right. The Man Mixer also leading into, or sorry, the training camp leading into the Man Mixer. I was very curious if anybody that partook in the training camp jumped in the mixer and how that worked out. Was that, was that advantageous? Was it, beneficial for you in any way? So be sure to drop a comment. Let us know, how that worked out if you did get the opportunity to kind of partake in the training camp and learn some stuff and then put it into practice in the mixer. I feel like that seems logical to continue to do it that way. I would definitely love to hear some firsthand experiences from you guys on how that worked out for you. Then, of course, we had that Shamrock draft and the glorious, oh so glorious fashion show afterwards.
Oh, wow.
Tons of people on Twitch. I think some person came in and was like, "What am I watching right now?"
Oh, that was a trip. I was going out to dinner for my sister's birthday. I get back home and it's starting. The fashion show is starting, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually happening. So everyone just starts jumping in the channel. We got like 20 something people, and I'm just trying to direct them to do this fashion show up on the catwalk. Oh man, that was a blast.
Yeah, man, I had a lot of fun with that too. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well.
Yeah.
And a big shout out to the Quivering Shamrocks, Car Guy Gamer, Ziggo, and Dat Boy Beans on your victory in the Shamrock Draft. Good job there, and thanks to everybody who participated in the fashion show. It was definitely a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and that's what it's all about. And a holiday where a lot of people go out and celebrate and get with friends and have a good time. So I hope you guys all had a safe St. Patty's Day in all your celebrations, and we look forward to circling up with you some this week. On that note as well, was there anything else that kind of transpired during the week?
Well, big news. We have Team M.A.N is expanding. And we're looking to start up, a second roster for Team M.A.N.
So there's going to be 2 Team M.A.N.s?
Yes. Phenomena.
That's awesome.
Yes. So at the moment we have Team M.A.N 2. We didn't want to go with sort of like a JV or an East-West or anything because really it's just there's so much interest in people representing Man. So we figured we would just expand it with a second official team. Blue is going to head this. He'll be a team captain of Team M.A.N 2. And he's going to be recruiting over, I believe, the next few weeks.
Yeah, so there's going to be a tryout period. So basically just circle up with Blue if you're interested in trying out for Team M.A.N. And Blue will circle up with you. We'll play some games, save some replays, and then throughout the course of the next month, towards the end of the month, actually, we'll kind of circle up and discuss who, what, where, and when, and kind of go from there. But ultimately, the skinny details are looking for 3 mains and one alternate. Looking for Diamond 3 plus last season or current rank. So with that said, just hit up Blue and coordinate with him to play some games, save some replays, and then Blue and the team manager, Mr. Maple, and all of us will kind of get together and discuss and make some decisions and move forward with that process. So that's super exciting.
Yeah, it is. I loved having our Team Man teams. It's so great.
Yeah,
the
man.
community gets so involved in watching them play, and it's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been an absolute blast watching those guys play, and
Mhm.
it's going to be that much more fun having more opportunities to do so. And I know one of the things that I'm kind of excited about is to see there be a tryout in this scenario as well. As one of the things we didn't necessarily do last time. We weren't really sure how the whole thing was going to go over, but you guys responded. You seem to enjoy it. We love it, and so we're going to expand on that a little bit for the future. So.
Tonight's community spotlight is with one of the longest standing members of the M.A.N community, one of the originals. Please welcome Grapes.
Hey, welcome, Grapes.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing tonight, man?
I'm good. How's it going?
Oh,
How's the
can't
show?
complain. Monday's right around the corner.
Yeah.
You know,
Bummer. Thanks for
Yeah.
reminding me.
of course.
But
I had to bring it.
I know I'm super excited to have Grapes on the show. I know you've revived your, no pun intended, but your VR content and stuff on YouTube. You've been uploading quite regularly, and as we just discussed, I've recently acquired an Oculus Rift, and certainly appreciate all the input that you provided me leading up to that decision.
Yeah, I tried to help as much as I could.
Well, you were very helpful, and I appreciate that. And man, what a journey the whole VR experience has been, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's very eye-opening, the difference that the way that you look at games differently.
It is, and it's like a very interesting segment of the gaming community. Just I don't know, like the way things are done on the gaming front, and I feel like you could probably elaborate on that some based on some of your YouTube videos and reviews and things I've watched that you've done on specific games. But it's just very interesting. Like there's not as many demos, which I think that's a gaming industry thing overall. But what can you share on that front?
Yeah, because there's not as much money flowing, most games are a lot cheaper. So you're looking at, I mean, in Canadian dollars, you're looking at 40 to 45 for a full release.
Hmm.
But in VR, a full release it's not, you're not going to get The Witcher 3. You're getting, 6 to 8 hours, and everything's designed really tight. So a lot of people, they don't try to do too much. They don't have open worlds or anything like that. So if you can appreciate that type of game, it's pretty good.
More playing it safe and just making sure that the content they're giving you is solid versus trying to go above and beyond and like really stretch the.
Right. Like
Yeah.
on my channel, I have one about a game called The Unspoken, which is sort of like a spellcasting game. And I don't like it, but it's so tight. Like they have such a focused idea that if someone did like it, it would be great for them.
I actually did catch that review where you're kind of talking about it was interesting, kind of slower paced game where you're kind of teleporting down the alleys and
Well,
shooting
yeah,
magic.
I think they felt pressured because it was a PvP game, and that's pretty typical for VR games. The PvP falls off. I think I saw 2 matches in an hour. So they added some single player content, which was not impressive.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very interesting concept too. The whole PvP in VR. I didn't get much opportunity to partake. I think I've just been bouncing around from the plethora of like free included titles, just trying to get my bearings in the VR world. But it's definitely been pretty interesting. Is there any games in particular you would recommend?
I haven't had good luck with multiplayer unless you get in on a release within the first couple of weeks. Like I've been talking about that strategy game I've been playing.
Brass Tactics.
Yeah, it'll be very lively.
I like that one.
It'll be very lively for a few weeks. You'll have 400 or 500 people on there. Find matches fast, and then the longevity just isn't there. There's another one called Raw Data, which I brought up, and I think it peaked at 500 people when it was newly released, and now there's less than 30 and no PvP happening.
Well, it's
Do you think
crazy.
that's because of the flood of games into the market? Like every couple of weeks there could just be something new around the corner, or has no game really put a grip on anyone to keep coming back to play yet?
I think it's a little bit of everything, and
Mm-hmm.
in my experience, I'm in a bunch of VR discords and circles. Everyone's extremely reluctant to spend money because I think they all got burned early on in the Vive and Oculus years, like in 2016. it was full of trash, so that doesn't help. And I'm not sure. I think that it goes back to what I talked about games being tightly designed. That also goes for the multiplayer. So I think the variety and stuff just isn't there. So once a few weeks passes, everyone's interest sort of drops off.
Mm-hmm.
That's speculation, though. I'm not sure.
I have to imagine too, though, that the price to enter, if you will, probably plays a factor as well. I mean, every household has a computer, but certainly every household doesn't have a VR headset at this point in time too. So I have to imagine that overall community is significantly smaller, obviously, than other gaming circles, if you will.
Yeah, I've done some research on metrics for concurrent players. Oculus's numbers they keep them pretty close to their chest, but running from Steam's concurrent player lists, knowing what I know, I think the amount of concurrent VR players is around 30,000 at any one time. So that's across all games on Steam, and I'm adding a bit of fluff there for Oculus. That's not very much for all the VR games on Steam, because now Payday's on VR and a few other big multiplayer games.
Yeah. Well, and as you mentioned, the 2016 years and stuff. I mean, you were looking at $1,000+ US dollars just to get your foot in the door, and I think that was one of the reasons too why I went with the Rift with its recent price cuts down to the $399 mark US dollars. It was a little bit more. A little bit more doable than it has been in years past, and I do think that from what I've seen, it seems like the availability of games and the quality of games and stuff is going the right direction pretty quickly compared to where it was just even a year ago.
Yeah, the benefits I think are starting to weigh up because the price isn't so ridiculous and the quality of software is there. I'm experimenting for my channel with some older games from 2016, like on the Oculus release, and they are so dated. Even if they look okay, they hurt your eyes. The tracking for the headset's not as good compared to some of the newer titles. It hasn't aged well.
Yeah, I could see that. So, favorite game?
A lot of people disagree with me on that, but it's my favorite game is Super Hot VR. But it's not the one that I'd say everyone should own.
All right. Why Super Hot VR, and what should everyone own?
I don't know. It's very subjective. How do you describe why you like your favorite game over a game that you know is better?
That's fair.
I don't know. The movement's great. It just feels like you're in the Matrix, and it's a little taking itself too seriously. But I'm really into the meta of the game. You'd have to play it to understand what I mean. But
yeah, I've seen bits and pieces, and it looks like it could be a really fun game in VR. Honestly,
it's funny that you mentioned it too, because after I kind of made some initial purchases and stuff, we kind of had a similar conversation where you mentioned Super Hot, and I watched some videos on it. And I was like, man, I kind of regret not making that one of my initial purchases. It does seem pretty interesting, like the whole puzzle aspect, the time slowing down and all that, which I imagine is probably pretty close to the point in non-VR Super Hot, which is actually something I've never even really played or heard of.
So it's different from the other Super Hot because you don't move within the game. Like you can move in the room scale, but there's no warping, there's no running around the room. Your only movement is the room scale that you have.
Oh, okay.
So that would be the change. And the biggest glaring issue is it's extremely short. It took me about 3 hours to beat it the first time, and I'm not a speedrunner, and I can do it in less than 20 minutes now.
Wow. All right, so what's the must-have game that needs to be in my library?
I'm going to be releasing a gameplay and thoughts video on it either tomorrow or Tuesday. It's Space Pirate Trainer.
Awesome.
It's the best use of room scale of any game, period. You shoot lasers at robots, and that's it forever. That's the whole game. So
Sounds
Yeah,
fantastic.
I'm checking it out right now. Actually, it looks a lot like Time Crisis.
Yeah,
Um,
okay. Yeah, I analogize it. It's like Space Invaders inside a sphere,
oh, okay, yeah.
and yeah, you're just on a veranda shooting robots. But
VR Time Crisis. Say no more. I'm going to buy it right
Well,
now.
actually, I tuned into your stream when you were playing Robo Recall, and that's the first thing that popped into my head. I was like, this looks like Time Crisis.
yeah,
You
Robo
know.
Recall should get an honorable mention too.
Yeah.
But I just found it forgettable. I played it until I got my high scores, and then I haven't gone back.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's been the most appealing initial game, if you will, included with the headset, right? So
Yeah,
that's
It's the
been
Wii
the
Sports of VR, basically.
well, no, Wii Sports of VR would have to say is definitely that award goes to Rec Room,
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
well, and
but
there is a sports game too, eh? I don't know if it comes with touch though. I have it. I got it from a bundle.
yeah, that's it's interesting too. They kind of got me with those bundles a bit, but it was a pretty good value. I was looking like I picked up raw data, and the game in and of itself I think was like $40 or something like that. But then they had like a duo deal, as Oculus calls them, where basically I got raw data for $30 instead of 40, and they included some boxing workout shit that I'll probably never play with it.
You look like a boxer.
But I don't know. I may check it out or whatever. But that was a game I was interested in, and it was $10 cheaper and came with something else, so it was kind of a no-brainer which to acquire there. I've been a little on the fence about Brass Tactics. I do very much enjoy strategy games, so I was kind of watching your videos on that. I may pick that up.
Did you try the free version?
I have not yet, actually. When you mentioned it to me the other night, I believe I've downloaded it, but I have not had an opportunity since to put the headset back on. So after we finish with the show and editing and stuff tonight, I may poke around. But I actually got a little hung up in Elite Dangerous. I did absolutely nothing, but the experience of playing that game in VR, it sold me on VR just totally, man. I mean, just I picked up a joystick too, a cheap joystick, and just flying around in outer space, just being able to look around and see all the stars and other ships and stuff like that, dude. It was very surreal. I felt like I was living like dark matter in real life. Um, Super awesome. But that's actually a game I haven't really played much outside of VR. Though just kind of watching the videos I did, it was definitely a big selling point on VR for me because I was like, man, this just seems like it would be awesome to just get lost flying around in that environment, and that's exactly what I did the other night. Probably 2.5 hours. I flew absolutely nowhere, did absolutely nothing, and it was literally like going to a theme park. Like
Yeah, those
crazy experience.
games, space simulators, I would say, are one of the only games I highly recommend that go use controllers with VR instead of touch, because you still get that same experience, like you were saying, without having to use room scale.
Yeah.
Other games, it's more of just like a visual gimmick rather than a core part of the experience. But in a simulator, I find it's beneficial.
Yeah, it was definitely very cool. My room scale space here in the office is pretty minimal. I did drag the computer out over the weekend to the living room where we had a bit more space. Though honestly, I actually have less space challenges than I thought I would. Really, the only thing that I found difficult was literally Rec Room, and part of that could have been the decisions I made in terms of like what mini games I was playing. Like I was playing like racquetball, so I was like swinging my fake racket around and knocking shit over, and then even in the living room with tons and tons of space, actually more space than my sensors could pick up. I was playing basketball. I shot a basketball and it went rolling across the floor, and I went chasing it right into a wall.
Yeah. The more you play, your VR IQ gets better too, so you could like play in a tighter space without ramming and everything. But it still gets away from you. That Space Pirate game, I ended up jumping and hitting my ceiling the other day, trying to jump over a laser.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's the other thing too about the office, right? Is just standard, at least in America, 8 foot ceiling. Whereas the living room, there's a bit of a vault, so there's a bit more room. I did also punch the fan and break the light
Yeah.
in the office the other night.
How long have you had it?
I don't know, like 4 days.
Yeah, and you've broken stuff. I like it.
Yeah, but other than the fan in the office, though, I think because of the tighter space in my office, I'm a lot more conscious of where I am spatially. Um, and in the giant living room with all that room to run, I guess I just wasn't as worried about it, which is how I wound up charging the wall, chasing the basketball. But
So,
I haven't broken anything, bones or hardware, so we're good.
except the light.
Well, yeah, but it was just the bulb, so we're good.
Oh, okay. So then take me through, I know you and I talked before, but take me through your reasoning behind getting the Oculus.
So ultimately, I decided to go with the Oculus. I mean, the biggest draw was obviously the price point, right? $200 cheaper than the Vive. Um, and one of the things that you and I had spoke about, where the sensors and the room scale capture out of the box was a bit better on the Vive. But given that I had very limited space, I didn't feel like that was going to be a big factor. But then not only that, it's my understanding that the Rift can be made comparable to the Vive in terms of room scale with the addition of one additional $60 sensor. So even still there, I'm saving $140 versus the Vive. So really the only thing that left on the table as a reason to go Vive for me was the I don't really want to call it, I guess, the Steam backing, but we kind of spoke at some length about the nature of the relationship between Vive and Steam as you understand it, and and the fact that through Revive you can play Oculus games on a Vive and vice versa. So that had a lot to do with it, and then knowing more others with the Rift software as well. I think it seemed like it was more of a draw for the party system to be able to team up and do things in the VR space a little easier, I should say. So that was ultimately, I think, the foundation for my decision. Then that, and of course, I could just run to Best Buy up the road and pick it up, which they didn't offer any Vives.
Okay. Yeah, because the out-of-the-box room scale is better on Vive, but the ultimate space that it can track is a little bigger too. So if you had a living room dedicated to VR, I'd probably say the Vive would be beneficial. But
Yeah.
for most normal people. And then Critter ended up getting a Rift as well.
Yes, he did actually, and I haven't actually got to speak to him too much about that, but he wasn't able to make it on the show tonight, unfortunately. But as I understand it, his Rift belongs to his wife and child.
Okay.
It's been commandeered before he's ever
I
got
see.
to experience it.
Right.
So every time I'm like, "Hey, have you checked it out yet?" He's like, "No, my wife's on it." I'm like, "Oh, cool. Hey, did you do this?" He's like, "I set up some controls on Elite Dangerous, and now my kid's on it." So I'm looking forward to getting to play some stuff with him. And then I actually did get in a party with him. We were chit chatting a little bit, and it was getting to be time to get my computer moved and get set up for the Shamrock Draft. So I have not been able to connect with him just yet on circling up and trying to get in a game. And I'm honestly not certain how much he's experienced, so I guess we'll find out next week.
Okay. Yeah, and then maybe if you can pick his brain about why he did the 180, because he was pretty much solid on the Vive when I spoke to him last. And next thing I know, he added me as a friend on Oculus.
Yeah, it would be interesting to get his take on that. I know, I spoke with him a little bit about it, and I was like, oh, well, I'm super happy with the Rift, and you can just get it at Best Buy, so I'm wondering how much that is a factor, but I don't want to speculate as to why he made that decision.
Okay. And Eric,
Yes.
what are your thoughts on VR as a whole? I know you're, how do I say that? You're forever skeptical of everything.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
how do you feel about it in general?
I guess you could classify that. I just think it's more of a gimmick. I mean, I respect it for what it is, but
which is fair. And I'm playing those older games, and I'm playing an RPG, which is the best Zelda game I've ever played. But what did VR add to it? Nothing. My eyes hurt.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
I agree. It's a gimmick in some cases.
Yeah, in some cases. I mean, yeah, some of the stuff I see coming out now, like, it looks great. You know, Robo Recall looked like a lot of fun. Space Pirate Trainer looks cool. There's actually this one game that I've seen a few GIFs on Reddit of. It's like you just have these like red and blue lightsabers, and you like swing them at these boxes come at you, and you like swing them at it. Like that kind of stuff looks cool. I like rhythm-y based like that, right? So, like that looks like fun and all. I think one of my biggest turnoffs about VR though has to be that it all is teleportation movement for the most part.
Right.
And like, you know, what you were talking about, Elite Dangerous, right? Now I was like, okay, so you move around Elite Dangerous though. You know, you don't use teleportation. You actually like fly a ship around, and that's how you move. But I realized you're sitting when you're playing that. It's not like standing. Because I was thinking about that. I'm like, I guess standing and actually moving around would make you kind of like fall over, right?
Well, and the biggest problem is actually motion sickness with normal locomotion.
Right, exactly.
So games are starting to warm up to it now that a lot of people have VR legs, and I have 3 or 4 adventure type games where you can actually run through the dungeon.
Okay.
They're starting to add it as like an option, or where historically, like you're saying, everything's teleportation and it's kind of crap.
Yeah, I think that's one of the weirdest parts.
I would definitely add that that the teleportation thing was a turnoff for me as well, but actually getting to experience it, it's not as bad as I felt it would be, and some games do it well and others not as well. The title, I think, makes a big difference. Like teleporting around in raw data was a lot different of an experience than teleporting around in, say, the Rec Room.
Did you turn on locomotion in raw data?
You know what? I didn't. It wanted me to do certain phases of the tutorial and things, and I did not. But speaking of that, though, Skyrim VR is coming out, and I did look at it a little bit. I'm not sure that it's something I'll be purchasing right out of the gate. It seemed like a neat novelty, but we'll see how that shapes up. But I bring that up because I did find a video where a guy was playing Skyrim on a treadmill. Yes,
the belt.
Yes, but it's not like your average treadmill, right? It's like this octagon thing, and it will move any direction, and it's got supports. So, you know, this guy was like running into battle, but standing still. So, you know, he wasn't going to crash into anything. That seemed really, really cool. And looking into that technology a little bit too, I mean, I think, you know, we're not that far off before some, you know, collapsible multi-direction, you know, treadmill options may exist for the VR world, and I think that's where it's really going to ramp up in terms of going next level away from the teleport base. But we'll see. That's my speculation.
I'll say it here first. DDR mats will be the first iteration of this. You'll be getting you just step in each direction, and you'll be moving right along. That's going to be it. You're hearing her first, folks.
But I will say, sitting down, you know, in the cockpit in Elite Dangerous, you know, with the joystick mimicking my movement in game and everything, you know, while it wasn't necessarily a room scale experience, just, you know, it was so immersive. I literally just felt like, you know, the ship was an extension of me, and you know, they really nailed that experience for me. It was really cool, really cool.
Yeah, there's another one. Maybe keep an eye on it if it goes on sale, called Eve Valkyrie.
Okay, yeah. Maple was telling me they included that with Rift at one point or another.
I don't remember. I think I got it in a bundle with some other games. But same idea. Just a space simulator, and when you're moving around, the VR adds a lot.
Might have to look into that one.
I don't know what it sells for now, or Maybe they're giving it away. Who knows?
I think it was like $30 or something like that. I don't remember precisely, but it wasn't free. I feel like $29.99, but I'd have to look it up.
15 would be a good price point.
Yeah. So, in your experience, I know you have probably an equally limited Elite Dangerous experience as I do. Does that game seem as complicated with the controls? You know, like,
No.
man, Elite Dangerous, awesome, a little overwhelming. I need to get with some of these Elite Dangerous pros to kind of get my controllers all mapped out and everything. Man, there's like 1.5 million freaking shortcuts and keys in that damn game.
Did you get Hoda's?
I got the Logitech 3D Extreme Pro.
Yep.
So it does have a little throttle flap thing, but I think Critter picked up the Thrustmaster that actually has, you know, the actual throttle back and forth, like, you know, almost like a gear shifter in a car. I don't know how to say it better than that. Which seems cool. I found on the Logitech that little flap for acceleration and deceleration was
it's crap. I have the same one.
Yeah, it was hard to use. Like I had to keep like increasing throttle. Nope, it didn't detect. Let me go back. So I was like wiggling it back and forth, trying to go, you know, to increase speed. And then, oh shit, I went too much. So that was definitely something where I was like, man, I probably should have got the Thrustmaster. But you know, at like $30 for that Logitech, it wasn't too bad. And you know, I didn't want to get too financially invested in Elite Dangerous yet, just as, you know, I haven't played the game, so it's not like something that you know, I'm buying VR for specifically or whatever, you know. Well, Grapes, I certainly appreciate you taking the time to come in and have a conversation with us. I appreciate all your guidance as I enter the VR world and look forward to playing some games with you. And you know, appreciate the reviews and also the way you do them. I love your ratings. Like, oh, this is fun and interesting out of 10. I was like, oh, that's great. But
yeah, it's pretty much split into two: recommended or not recommended.
Well, I like it. So keep doing your thing. So where can everyone else come across your YouTube content?
Well, you can find me on YouTube, but don't search grapes because there's 9 million other things about grapes before me. But I'll provide you guys with a link.
All right, we'll get it posted in the description of the video. Thanks for stopping in, brother. Great talking with you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Grapes. Big thanks to Grapes for coming out to talk about some VR. Really, really interesting stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you, Grapes. I appreciate all your words of wisdom, and it was great having you on, man.
And I'll wrap up for episode 5. We have the upcoming events of this week. So tomorrow, that'll be Monday, March 19th at 7 p.m. We have the House of Diamonds hosted by Classic Style. Tuesday, the 20th, 7 p.m. is the training camp leading right into the Man Mixer.
Yep, Man Mixer's at 9 p.m. So be sure to partake after the training camp and let us know if that experience was beneficial, being able to get some advice and jump into a scrimmage scenario, and let us know how that's working out.
Saturday, the House of Champions will be hosted at 4 p.m. GMT for the EU crowd by Jakite or Z Hyena. On the 30th next week, Friday, that'll be the Dungeon Crawl, bringing this one back. I'm really excited. We got to start putting up our bosses, man.
Yeah, we need some
I
bosses.
can't wait to see the craziness that that's gonna come out of this one.
Well, like I say every time, man, that's always one of my favorites. Every month after month, it's so much fun and interesting to see what people come up with. So if you'd like to be a boss, we need you. So shoot me, Karth, a DM on Discord, and be prepared to show up 15 minutes early for a quick bosses meeting. We'll get all our ducks in a row, and we will commence the Dungeon Crawl event that we have every month.
And to finish off March, we have the MCCS. Back to a Man Card exclusive event.
So beyond that, I think that's everything coming up this week, and then of course, the Dungeon Crawl on the 30th and the MCCS on the 31st. So that's 2 weeks out. so you got a little time to plan and request off or do what you need to do. And hope to see you guys there. And I know I really appreciate you guys taking the time to stop and give this episode a listen. I know it ran a little bit longer than our usual, but hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. And thanks again for checking us out every week.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Middle-aged Noobs thanks you for listening to The Man Show. Be sure to follow, like, and subscribe for the latest Man news and event announcements.